Hi everyone, I'm DeFi Dad. You're watching episode 41 of Yield TV. Hey everyone, so it is Wednesday, December 2nd, 2020. So we're gonna talk today with Matthew from Cent. Matthew is really from everywhere. Matthew is the co-founder of Cent. He's the co-founder of Metacast, which we're going to learn about today. It's a newer venture with Andrew Steinwald. He is the organizer of the WIP Meetup. He's the lord of the metaverse, the king of NFTs, the deacon of digital art. Anyways, Matthew, welcome to Yield TV. How are you doing?
Hey, what's going on, world? Hey, Travis. Really nice to speak with you. I have to say, this is the first broadcast that I've been on with like a proper intro video. That was super solid.
Isn't that cool? Yeah, it
Yeah.
definitely makes it look like I'm not a complete jackass, but here we are. It's StreamYard. If anyone's curious, StreamYard really does a great job of making it easy to produce something that looks more professional than what it is. Well, so Matthew, I think what we'll cover today, a wide range of topics. I tend to always think of you first in relation to the metaverse. So like some context to how I know Matthew is I got into VR when the pandemic was starting. I bought an Oculus, started to meet like new friends through that, started talking about it, which actually led me to friends saying you should check out Cryptovoxels, and then got to know the Token Smart team, which is a team that I guess you'd have to help me define it. Like they do a lot of work in Cryptovoxels, and they've built this incredible community of artists and enthusiasts in Cryptovoxels. So we'll show off Cryptovoxels as well today. But yeah, just there's so much that's happened in the last 6 months, and we live in a world now where we're totally dependent on the internet. We're dependent on this to communicate and interact with each other. This is my primary source of socializing now. Is everything is digital first. So yeah, man, how's everything going? Like you have a new baby. Like how is balancing life with all of that?
Yeah, I mean, it feels like the space is barreling ahead like 100,000 miles per second, right? I can't believe we're at the end of the year, but there's been so much progress in the metaverse, in crypto. I mean, Ethereum 2.0 going live, all-time highs in Bitcoin, like where everything is going in such an amazing direction. And we were talking about this before the show started. Like, I feel personally super blessed to be in this space, being able to talk with folks like you and everyone that I'm able to meet over on Cent, at the WIP every single week in this time of COVID, which is super challenging for the whole world. And I just feel like the positive experiences we're having, if people are looking for a better way or a way to kind of divert their attention from a lot of the in real life negativity, it's just like, come here, come to crypto, come to the WIP, get on Cent, watch Travis espouse all the virtues of DeFi and how that can really empower you financially and set you free in a lot of ways, and just get to know an amazing community that's around it, building these projects and tools, and give them your feedback and kind of get on the front line, because this is a space for action. And everything that I'm a part of, it's all about taking action, doing cool shit, building out the future today. So
Yeah,
I'm living pretty well, thankfully.
yeah. It's just before we went on, we were just doing the usual catch up, and yeah, I feel like almost like kind of guilty, because I've said this to all of my friends and family who are like, we're only interacting with we're lucky we have some family that lives nearby, and we have one friend, one family that we're friends with that has
just one friend, Travis.
yeah, and we are. I'm hearing everyone say the same thing, that they're like, yeah, like I am sick and tired of the pandemic, and I'm empathetic to people who have like lost jobs. Like that's devastating, and people have died, people have been devastatingly sick. But like you were saying, I'm like, I feel like I've had this like renaissance being in quarantine. I mean, before the quarantine, I had never recorded a podcast. Recorded a lot of podcasts while in quarantine. I'd never done a live stream. This is episode 41. I had never been in VR. Like I had never been in Cryptovoxels. I've tried basically a new DeFi app probably every day. I had never owned an NFT before then. And so anyways, like not to like be like, hey everyone, like my life's just great. But yeah, like I feel like it's a reflection of adopting this, you know, digital native, digital first lifestyle. And it's I just can't encourage people enough to like go out. Like you gotta find those communities that are digital first. And I think the WIP is one of the easiest places that they can get acquainted. Can you talk about for a sec, like what is the WIP? And like maybe while we're talking, I might be able to pull up Cryptovoxels and share screens to show what we're actually talking about.
Yeah, so the WIP is a weekly metaverse meetup that broadcasts every Thursday, 12 p.m. Pacific, into Cryptovoxels, Decentraland, and Discord. And basically, we want to offer the easiest on-ramp for folks to help fast forward them into the future of crypto and VR today. So, like in brass tacks, what is it? So every Thursday, we invite folks from the trading space of crypto, DeFi, NFT land, and crypto artists to come give short and sweet 2 to 3 minute updates on the cool shit that they're building. And folks are able to hop in and listen to this like a podcast if they want in Discord, or they can jump into Cryptovoxels, where we're actually concurrently present as these badass, weird, freaky avatars. And actually, it feels like you're together in this meetup space and watching the presenters talk in the form of an avatar. And that's actually broadcast into Decentraland as well for people that live in Decentraland and want to kind of listen in and tune in that way, almost like a weird live TV show. So yeah, we've been doing this every week every Thursday since January, when I kind of got the idea to get folks together and see what people were working on this space. And I'm surrounded by a community of builders and artists and creators. And like it's been the WIP is a literal WIP. It's super meta. And it's been awesome to be able to build this out together with our partners over at TokenSmart, like Rizzle and Jim McNellis, really bouncing our heads together. And we've built a crew of 13 specialists, I'd say, that help put on this weekly production. So we have audio engineers, we have videographers, we have our own like marketing team that's putting together a weekly newsletter that we call the New Pangean. It's a whole production, and we've had over 10,000 folks attend the WIP since we started at the beginning of the year. Over 200 different folks come to speak and give updates, and the average attendance in November was over 700 people per event. Like, this shit is crazy. It seems super futuristic, right? Crypto, VR, but literally all anyone needs to do is click a URL link and they're in the future, listening about all the cool shit happening in crypto. And it's been revelatory for a lot of folks, and it's been a lot of people's escapes, and it's just an awesome community to be a part of, because we do all these drops, and like we put NFTs into people's hands every event now with the proof of attendance tokens that we're distributing. And then we have our community token, WIPC, that we give to people when they come to the event for attending, that they can then use to buy wearables to attire their avatars with, so that they can show up to the next WIP looking fresh and clean and things like that. So we show people that all this weird sounding futuristic shit is possible literally right now, today. And it's so cool to see people get inspired from this and come on to the WIP later, present their projects and stuff like that. It's all that and more.
Can you remind everyone, like what we're looking at here is So this is Cryptovoxels, similar to, if anyone's familiar with Decentraland, gosh, what is there also? There's Insomnium.
Somnium Space, and then there's the
Somnium.
sandbox that's getting built out. And those are the blockchain-based VR worlds. That's how I like to think of them as. Some other people have termed them or referred to them as crypto sandboxes, which is really apt as well, right? So these are worlds. Obviously, Cryptovoxels. We're in the middle of Origin City, and it's like a Minecraft-esque voxel-based world where it's super easy to build structures. You just have these 3D cubes that you can stack and color and do whatever you want to create builds. And the individual parcels are buyable and sellable, and the title to the virtual land is tied to an NFT. And the
There
NFT
we go.
confers the rights to build and make changes to it. So that, like, for example, if DeFi Dad owned one of these plots, he could build it up, he could play with it, but then another user that comes in that does not have that NFT title to the land can't do anything. They can go to the space, they can participate in an event if it's being held live there, but they can't change anything. They can't sell the land, they can't profit from it. Only DeFi Dad would be the one to do that. So it's like this.
So cool.
It's very subtle, but it's very significant revolution in how games get played. And in this case, like, everything about this world is user generated, from the builds and everything like that. Obviously, there's a team behind it, but it's so cool. It's part of the future, right?
It is. It feels like. Well, I mean, I do want to call out, like, actually there is something here that we all recognize. Like, if you ever saw Minecraft, like we've all said, like, oh yeah, it reminds me a lot of Minecraft, but it comes back to the use of NFTs, the fact that, like, let me go back to the window here. You know, there is, I've heard it many times. We've all heard it. Digital art. What's the point? You know, there's always the idiot who says, like, oh, I can just screenshot it and now I have your art. And I'm like, it's like, yeah, but there's no, okay, like let's, you know, be real that there's no value to it. You'll never be able to resell it. You do not own the rights to it. And when you look at what we have here, it's just like the physical world. I mean, I own, or not I, but let's just pretend if I owned this behind me, like, this is a piece of art that I, you know, own, like a physical thing, but in the metaverse. And if you have a community and you find this to be a place of comfort, a place where you meet up with friends, a place that's kind of your home, I mean, isn't that the definition of a community, a society that you live in? And so there's the things that we own in the physical world. And so it makes a lot of sense that if we're going to spend time here, why would we not own, you know, things?
Right.
Why? Like, it's stuff that I think Andrew Steinwald, I've heard him say before, like, it's just like a primal thing about humans. Like, we like to own stuff. Like, we, you know, that's what defines us, you know, is not, I guess, not necessarily the stuff that we own, but I mean, it's a part of what makes our life. So, I mean, this is just, it's just so cool. Every time I hop in here, there's always new stuff. Like, I don't even recognize most of what I'm looking at right now. This is an area I've combed through a million times, but there's always new stuff.
It's crazy. Like, from the beginning of the year, Cryptovoxels was literally black and white. There was basically zero color. They were just introducing the experiment with the color token to let people color the voxels and stuff like that. So the rate of progress, that, for folks that don't know, Ben Nolan is the creator of Cryptovoxels. He has a team of just three folks that are building out this huge virtual world. But the rate of progress is just staggering. And if you see some of the images that Ben is sharing of, like, his future vision of what Cryptovoxels can look like and what a voxel-based world can look like, it's insane. Like, the fidelity that you can get from voxels and things like that. But to kind of go back and reframe what this world is and what individual parcels are, like another analogy that I like to use is like each parcel is like a 3D website. Imagine you set up a blog or your own website, but instead of having it be flat in 2D, it's 3D, and you can literally move around in it and you can live in it, and people can come in to it, and you see those users when they're on your site looking at whatever you've set up. And instead of like doing or using SEO to drive traffic to your sites, where the WIP comes in, it's a way to drive traffic to your site, right? There's an event there and it's something that's ephemeral, and you need to actually go there physically, digitally, to experience it and take part of it. But that traffic drives value to your parcel because more people see it, they remember it, especially if you go there over and over. So, and then the fact that you own that, and then when someone comes in and says, wow, just like in real life with real estate, the place that has the most foot traffic is the most valuable. The thought experiment and the logical conclusion to this sort of stuff is that the land will increase with those events and traffic and interest. So that in your case, like, because DeFi Dad and our hypotheticals like owns all of Cryptovoxels, whenever people want to buy that land, DeFi Dad is able to profit from all that hard work that he's putting into it with these events and building out the buildings and stuff like that, which is nuts, like, because where else is that possible?
Yeah, I'm like remembering like everything that is in the physical world, you just start to see the same concepts show up here in the metaverse. And so, you know, for example, like what Matthew was referring to, if like here is a parcel that, you know, isn't developed yet. And then if you look right behind me there, here's someone who started to put up, you know, some voxels or blocks or whatever that is. But then it's funny because someone else, everything you see here, this wine shop, this is so cool. I haven't seen this. This started with nothing. I mean, it's just so like nuts. Like, and then a lot of what you see in here is actual art. There's wearables, which refers to like, if you look at like my guy here, I've got a beer mug, but like you could buy shoes, and there's shoe shops inside of here. I mean, it's so nuts. Matthew, what is the name of the parcel that you own, or where you have like a bunch of your art displayed?
I think the name of it's just Crypto Art Stadium. I think it should pop up there.
Crypto Art Stadium. Maybe. Oh, there we go. Matthew's Crypto Art Stadium.
There we go. Yeah. So this is a build built by a lot of money. The structure is basic, but like I had the build. I was trying to experiment, and I can't build anything for the life of me. But literally last year, like 367 days ago, I scooped the image that you're looking at right there in the middle. The remake of Caravaggio's work right there, titled now Saint Nakamoto, by a lot of money in Da Vinci. So I scooped that. Previously, the all-time high, just to give some context, I purchased that for like $1,700 last year, and now the all-time high has like 100x to over $150,000. That's how quickly like the digital crypto art space has increased. Yeah, it's insane. After I purchased this big ticket item for then, I was just like, hey, a lot of money. I have this Cryptovoxels plot, but I'm a klutz to build it. I really want to show off your beautiful, beautiful work that I just purchased. Could you help build me a home for this? And he was like, sure, mate. And like in 5 minutes, he just whipped this stadium up. And he had essentially set all the artwork up. I've been updating and changing the art based on what I buy and sell. But yeah, this is the current state. And I've held a couple whips here, and it's just a beautiful environment to show off art. And imagine yourself in true HR or VR. It'll be nuts.
Yeah, and it like, I mean, as you look at this, and I'm just, you know, clearly I'm just on my laptop, but you know, I think I've gone into Cryptovoxels in my Oculus, and we're not there quite yet. I mean, you can do it on a browser, and it's definitely not the same, but you can imagine eventually once we are there, I mean, it's immersive, like even on a
Yeah.
laptop. So like I tell
Yep.
people all the time, like you actually don't need a headset to enjoy VR, especially like stuff like this. I mean, I don't know. I just think it's so cool. Like you can fly up, I'm looking up, but I kind of love that view
Yep.
from down below because you really appreciate like a sense of height and depth in here. And um, just so nuts. So I guess okay, I've got some questions for you in terms of like the art here.
Yeah.
What are you buying? Like, are you buying things that you think are just cool looking, or do you actually have like an investor mentality behind some of these purchases now? Like, I guess the Satoshi Nakamoto one, like it seems obvious enough to me that this would be something that people would be interested in, like, or it's the Satoshi meme. It's not, to clarify, that's not actually Satoshi Nakamoto, but
Right.
it is it's mind blowing to me that it's gone up to, it said like 90 or 150 ETH, which is about $100,000. So yeah, it's that's almost like 50x or a little more than that. And you were mentioning it might have been even higher or going for higher value. So yeah, are you investing in just what you love, or do you think that you have I don't know, like the mindset that's brought to the legacy art world where folks buy art, and if you look at the market over time, like art goes up. Art has
Mhm.
outperformed the S&P 500 as far as I know over the last like
Yep.
several decades. So
Yeah. So, I mean, when it comes to art, you have like three different classifications of folks that purchase it, right? You have collectors, investors, and flippers. Um, I definitely straddle the world between collector and investor. Probably orient way more towards collector because at the end of the day, when you buy a piece, you have to buy a piece, and this is my personal opinion, under the assumption that you're going to hold on to this for the rest of your life. You may never sell it. You may never want to sell it. Um, but there's an article that I wrote in the beginning of September. I think I called it an ROI collector's guide to crypto art.
yeah,
And in,
that's it.
in
Yeah.
it, I kind of like list up like what my criteria are because I have sold a considerable number of pieces on the secondary market on super rare. At least at that time, I was in the top 20, which is like top 20 in the world of reselling crypto art.
Yeah.
And like my hobby is something that is profitable. And in it, I kind of like list up a couple of things that I'm looking for specifically, and that anyone else that may be interested in like ROI collecting could be interested in. But rule number one is always just buy what you love, right? You can't think, oh, is this the piece that is going to be worth $1 billion in the no, just like, buy what you love. If you see a piece and it just strikes you right, you want to get it, collect it, just buy it, right? But then there's other criteria that I personally look for, like when it comes to aesthetics, like in crypto art. This is from Art Gnome, aka Jason Bailey. But there's this idea of like dankness of a piece.
Yeah.
Like if you look
Yeah. Yeah.
on the right there at that cell phone image with the black and white stripes coming out the back by Janisu. God, just look at that. That shit is so cool. And then the Sarah show right next to that, that like weird alien old retro VHS
Oh man,
piece,
I
and the
know,
same
right?
thing above.
It is all like that's I think my worry is I would just want to buy everything. I've rarely looked at any of the art in
Uh-huh.
Cryptovoxels or that's being displayed in Cryptovoxels,
Uh-huh.
and not been like, whoa, that's so cool. Like, I mean, I guess cost would be what would stop me in many cases. And uh, where are you buying it normally? Like, are you buying it across OpenSea and Rarible and I guess some of the usual suspects? Or uh, I know you can actually offer folks like you basically, I could click on this, which will then maybe link me to like an OpenSea and
Mhm.
uh, or is there like a private market as well that like basically like old school people like messaging one another or somehow getting a hold of one another?
Yeah. So in terms of buying them, like the pieces come from a lot. Most of them come from Super Rare. Several of them come from Maker's Place. A couple of them come from Known Origin. I think I've collected directly from OpenSea for a number of pieces. There may be a few rareable collected pieces in there as well. And then, like in terms of collecting, a lot of collectors do a lot of private messaging and saying, "Hey, do you want to part with this one?" That's how a lot of the deals get structured. But going back to the collecting for potential profit, and to your point of like, man, I just kind of want to spend all my money on all the things that I see. I think there's a really interesting parallel framework from the startup world that I'm just like starting to formulate in my mind after listening to Chamath, the CEO of Social Capital, talk about how he makes his investments. And he kind of structures his investments into two buckets. Dealing with quantums of capital is what he calls
Yeah.
it. And on the one end, there's the small quantums of capital, of things where, based on his budget, are super low risk investments into businesses and companies. And as long as the startups that he invests in align with his thesis, right? Then he's just like, he doesn't want to miss the opportunity. He's thrown like 100 bets on the field in any given year at that like 25,000 to 100,000 range for him, just getting things on the field because you don't want to miss these opportunities. They go by so quickly. And then at the higher end, like there's the big purchases, like hundreds of millions of dollars, like existential investment decisions that could determine like whether the company, the investment arm is able to keep investing in the future. And that's where he just kind of like disconnects from the world and thinks really deeply. This is what I want. Do I want this company? Blah blah blah. And I feel like you can directly apply that framework to collecting crypto art. As a collector, you have a particular taste. Every collector has like the fingerprint of taste, as I call it. Like it's something super specific and unique to them. And as a collector, if you really are serious about collecting, you need to refine that taste thesis. Like, what is it that you're looking for, right? Like, really hone that and really focus on that. And when you see those pieces that speak to you, that align with that taste thesis, then if you apply that, like the quantums of capital framework to your artwork purchasing, then you can say, okay, well, this work is at this price point for me. And that's one of those like small quantums of capital that I'll scoop up. I'm going to buy it because I don't want anyone else to get it. Right. And
Yeah, yeah.
then there's some pieces where you have to do a lot of thinking and soul searching and you gotta see if it's actually really right for you. And I feel like that's the framework that comes in. But then after you buy the work, you want to make sure that you're promoting it, right? You talk about buying it, you talk with the creator, you maybe interview them, which is what I do on the Spotlight podcast. And you just help them out, right? Whatever they need. And that notoriety, that recognition is huge for the space. And then if you really do want to sell it, remember to put a frickin' list price on there at some point. I mean, the works that I've sold for considerable sums, they've had list prices on them. And when a collector sees something that they really, really like I said before, they're just going to scoop it right away. That's how it works. So those are some practical suggestions and some frameworks that potentially could be helpful for folks. If that makes sense.
So I tried Masterworks in the past year. You probably know Masterworks. For anyone who doesn't, you can buy fractional shares of art, and you can imagine like most of us would ever be able to afford to buy an Andy Warhol, but with Masterworks, they basically, you could say they tokenize it, but they're using all the traditional methods of creating a security. So you buy a share of it, and
it's physical art, just for folks listening.
That's right, and this is physical art versus I guess, is it proper to call this is all digital art? I don't know. Yeah. I sometimes worry that's an insulting term, because to me it's all like it's art. It's just like I guess I don't actually distinguish the difference, other than I guess I would call this smart art, because it's easier for me to store it, to transfer it. Like if you look at all the art in these galleries, it is not possible for someone to come in here and steal it, like, or
Mhm.
to even to destroy it, because that's the power of having this all, as an NFT, on the Ethereum blockchain. So like, even if
Mhm.
Cryptovoxels disappeared, obviously that would be sad for folks who spent all their time building these parcels, but the ownership of the actual art is all that's assured by the Ethereum blockchain.
Mhm. Yeah. And I mean, I call it crypto art, but calling it like rare digital art also works for a lot of people. Um, but yeah, I mean, Masterworks, the ability for regular people to invest in like these, like a Picasso or a Warhol, and buy fractional shares of ownership. Um, that's definitely interesting. And yeah, I'm just curious where you're going to go with that in relation to digital art.
Oh yeah, and so when I got exposure to Masterworks and just basically tried it out, I was like, okay, so I've discovered that what I said is true, that I really just I do like a lot. And I now I can zero in on like where some of my tastes lie. Uh, and it's more of I'm guessing that I just like need more time at it. I need more practice, like anything you need to spend more time thinking. And with digital art, I feel like the friction to getting access to it is so much less. It's just easy. And so I've been like somewhat fearful of like, oh my gosh, like this could be this could be like a can of worms that I regret opening. And suddenly I find myself almost like trying to allocate more money than I should. So anyways, long story short, like I read your post and I was like, wow, like this just sounds like so much fun. But I would find myself to be somewhat in that investor long term category as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. This is definitely reminding me I probably just need to get back on the horse with it. And I
Well,
want to be able to display it too. Like the
uh,
coolest thing about what we have here is you can celebrate that art by displaying it in Cryptovoxels. Uh,
mhm.
and that actually, as an investor too, helps. Like you said, like people are more interested. I find they're more interested often when they know the backstory of why this was created and they can understand the mindset of the artist,
Yeah.
and they see other people talking about it. Because again, we all want to like own stuff that we all think
Hmm.
is cool, and as you said, has like a dank factor. So
Hmm.
it's pretty cool.
No, yeah. I mean, for me personally, because I also do a podcast, like it feels like everyone in the space does. But the crypto artists that I speak with and
Yeah.
interview on the podcast, I like to make a practice of collecting their work as well, so that they're like it's not just a podcast talking with an amazing creator. Like there's an experience that's tied with that, and the experience is collecting that particular creator, which I find like immensely rewarding. And the digital aspect, the crypto aspect, really just makes that so easy, right? Because I've had on like Oshinachi, an amazing artist from Nigeria who creates masterpieces using Microsoft Word. Like he literally creates his art
Wow.
using Microsoft Word. Yeah, it's absolutely mind blowing what he's able to do with that. But talking to him over the, I mean, obviously we're all on the internet right now, but then being able to literally buy work from him, collect it, have that monetary transfer to him. And then all the other creators that are located, God knows where around the world. It's so incredibly powerful and revolutionary. Everyone can become a collector, and creators they can flex their artistic arm and really, if they want to, really focus on becoming an artist. And I feel this is I wrote this another article a year ago called like spending thousands of dollars on crypto art and why I think it's so revolutionary, and that's a huge part of it.
Whoa. I just like as we were talking about this too, I clicked on this piece. Like, look at this thing, like
That's so
what
dope.
it's doing. It's so cool. Wow.
It looks so good too. I love how the fidelity is so high with these
I'm not
gifts
used to
now.
seeing that here. Yeah, I didn't realize that it could be that high fidelity or just that crystal clear to look at. It's very like crisp. You can like really see the edges on this, and like the
And
shadows. And
are you on a laptop or are you on a desktop?
so I'm on my laptop, which I would admit I've got a pretty souped up laptop. But I made a sizable investment in myself, needing to be able to edit more videos, and this is incredible. Like to see what
Yeah.
the looks like here. So
Yeah.
cool.
There's been a lot of rough edges. I mean, Cryptovoxels itself is a work in progress, and anyone that's come to the WIPs, they know that it's a constant evolution and trying to shave off and sand down a lot of the rough edges that are involved with a brand new work in progress project. But at this point, there's been so much optimization. Like a lot of it looks really good. It runs pretty crisply, for the most part in most people's laptops at this point. It used to not be the case, but they're really focusing, Ben and crew are really focusing on making
Wow.
Cryptovoxels usable and robust and not prone to breaking or crashing for people, and making the images that people are hanging up in their galleries super crisp and super great to look at. And yeah, I'm loving the progression of this. And this is just one of the blockchain based VR worlds. We have Decentraland, which is a whole other bag. We have the more and more immersive Somnium space, and then the game focused sandbox, which is set to launch. And it's I really am so excited about that community based gameplay in a VR context heading forward. I think that's the secret sauce that's really going to start bringing even more people into these spaces.
Yeah, I'm a little embarrassed. Like I haven't spent much time with Decentraland. I went into it a few times, and I fell in love with the access that I had within Cryptovoxels, that I could go anywhere without any sort of like permission.
Yeah,
Decentraland, like
have to have MetaMask.
Yeah, you've got to have MetaMask. You can't explore everywhere that you want to explore, right? I mean, it's not as I don't want to say, it's just not as open as Cryptovoxels.
Well, you have to walk everywhere, which is one thing. They've updated their map feature so you can look in the map and then you can teleport to those places a little bit more
Oh, you
easily.
can. Okay.
Done a lot of work to make it more usable and accessible in that regard, but it is definitely, I mean, there are a couple extra barriers that users need to go through in order to get into there. It's more intensive from like a computer standpoint. You definitely want to be on a desktop to get that better experience and avoid crashing and stuff like that. It's very different aesthetic. I like to think of the different VR worlds as like and relate them to real life cities as counterparts. So Cryptovoxels is sort of like New York of the late 70s and 80s, or like a San Francisco with like an entrepreneurial meet punk and art kind of vibe. Decentraland is like Dubai, right? There's a ton of money there. Everything's very shiny, but it's
Wow.
also very like almost too clean in a way, right? And again, like focused on money. And then Somnium Space is like Montana. It's gorgeous. There's just not a lot of people there,
No,
right?
that's a great way to relate it all, and that's been my bit of experience too. Like I've barely played with Somnium, and like I said, I kind of gave up on. I don't know. I like fell in love with Cryptovoxels the way that maybe someone falls in love with like a New York or San Francisco and doesn't really care to go visit or live in another city. But I never thought about it that way. And again, it's a reflection of like the metaverse and how the metaverse is I mean, it reflects the physical world that we live in. And by the way, for anyone who's unfamiliar with that, we keep dropping terms, and metaverse refers to what the universe of all like VR worlds, or all current and like future VR worlds. Is that a good way to explain it?
I like Andrew Steinwald's definition. So it's like a virtual or digital space where you live, work, and play, right?
Ah,
So
yeah.
all these places, they allow you to quote unquote live there. Like Travis lives in Cryptovoxels. You can hear that. He prefers that to Decentraland. You can do work there. Like the WIP it's a profitable enterprise of hosting these events. And then play. we also play a bunch of games, like literal games that people engage in, and it's just plain old fun to kind of even just walk around and explore these worlds. So I like that live, work, and play definition for digital virtual contexts.
Matthew, I want to make sure we cover a bit more just about like the other work that you do, which is like this is like a very small fraction of what you do. I don't understand how you sleep, and I'll admit I actually don't sleep barely at all myself at this point.
Yeah,
I can't like shut my brain off with all that's
yeah.
all cool stuff. But okay, so you started Scent. Let's just start there. What is Scent, and how does it make use of Ethereum?
So I'm a co-founder of Scent, and I mean the backstory for me is that I started off as a user right when it got off the ground back in 2017, actually. So it's been around for quite a while in the crypto space, and essentially it's a Ethereum-powered social network, right?
Mhm.
And it makes use of the Ethereum blockchain for the monetary transactions. Everything on Scent is in ETH, right? No special ERC20 coin, just pure raw ETH. And we have a couple interesting incentive mechanisms. We started off with a bounty mechanism. So most people that are more technical have heard of like bug bounties and things like that. What Cent did, the innovation was to kind of make the bounty approachable to non-technical people. So most people are familiar with like the cold start problem of using a new social network. You don't have your social graph ported in there. How do you get people to look at your content? Well, if you have crypto, you can attach an Ether-based bounty to it or reward, so that okay, hey, read my article, reply, and then I'll give this money, which you see is and it's provably there to the best replier, right? That's the first thing.
Mhm.
And then we also make use of the smart contracts, or smart contracts with a user-based or creator-based subscription play that we call seeding in an interesting way. So instead of just purely subscribing to a creator and sending a fixed amount of money, when you subscribe to a creator, especially when you subscribe to a creator very early and you send them Ether, that puts you in a line that entitles you to a cut or share of future revenue that goes to that creator for other people that subscribe to them. And we just take great advantage of like the programmability of this cryptocurrency to incentivize people to support creators early, often, and over a recurring basis over time. And it's been cool to see, especially up until the beginning part of this year before we had a big update that we referred to as Cent 2.0, a really growing community, largely focused on the NFT / crypto art space, kind of like set up shop and talking about the process behind their works, sharing details about it, kind of creating a place to share their artist statements and things like that. So it was really fun to help build out that community. And then from there, that's sort of like the seeds or the genesis of all the other activities that I've been involved in up until this point.
What were you doing before Cent? Like, is that your entry into the crypto world, Cent, or were you already into crypto before that?
So I got into Ethereum back in 2015, and just as a investor, by scooping Ethereum or Ether, that whole thing. But previously, professionally, I'd worked at Samsung. I live and work in Korea. I've been here for over 10 years. I graduated from university here. It's kind of like a weird, eclectic background. But I was working in biotech, and I just been intensely interested in crypto. And when I found Cent, I literally wrote over 100 posts inspired by the possibility of having like really simple economic incentive primitives that anyone could use to kind of encourage and incentivize engagement and things like that. And then I contacted the team. I was like, I have to work with you in some capacity. So in early 2018, I joined the team then as a part-time contractor, which very quickly turned into a second full-time job over and above what I was doing at the the conglomerate for my daytime full-time
Wow.
job. Yeah, and then just kind of built it out from there and became co-founder, and yeah, the rest is, as they say, history.
Wow. So, okay. So what do you connect between like Scent, the WIP, Metacast? Like I obviously see, some of the lines connecting because of digital art or NFT art. There's a common thread of Ethereum. There's a common thread of just believing that the metaverse is the future, that like that we can live in that. But I guess like how do you manage all of this? Like, I guess what like you have Scent that you guys are still growing, which I was curious to know like what killer use case you guys are what is the best user that you find in Scent right now versus uh in Cryptovoxels, we talk about the fact that it's really at the end of the day, I think so much more will happen there, but it's community and it's artists. Just like we
Hmm.
really see digital art exploding there. So I just asked you like 10 questions in one, but maybe you can
I know.
talk to me about like, yeah, how do you manage all of that you do? And uh like I guess like is there some grander mission? Are you like the Elon Musk of NFTs? Are you gonna take us to Mars with metaverse?
So I think the common thread is this emerging creator-driven, creator-led, creator-owned economy that's expanding, right?
Yeah.
And powered by crypto. So I like to always everyone is trying to come up with a way to describe what's happening, what they see unfolding for them. I like
Mhm.
to refer to it as creator crypto because the crypto element is really important and it's powering this revolution in creator driven communities and ownership and economies, right? So the common thread through everything that I'm actively involved in is the belief that that is the future, that this creator crypto space is going to take over everything. And blockchain based VR plays a part in that. The WIP and the events that happen there play a part in that. Obviously, a social network like Scent that uses crypto to power everything on the back end is responsible for that. And Metacast, an NFT and blockchain gaming based creator and advertiser network, is definitely a part of that. And the common thread there is the amazing community that's springing up around there. And my activity talking, engaging with, recording podcasts, communicating with, chatting with, tweeting with, all these people kind of hold all these disparate ventures together in a really tight knit way that makes it more manageable than it may initially seem to a bunch of folks. But then getting back to Scent and like what is the killer use case there, I would say that everything that Scent has done has been an experiment. And we kind of like see ourselves as an incentive lab. Like what different incentive mechanisms can we create or what different experiments can we run using these crypto powered tools to create something larger that rewards and provides creators with like a universal creative income is sort of like an idea that we've had. And um, obviously bringing people together in a traditional blog like social network package is interesting, but our new experiment that we're literally going to launch tomorrow that we're calling valuables takes a lot of the learnings that we've seen our user base present us with, notably engaging in NFTs over the past year and a half and the power that that provides a lot of these creators, and packaging that into a new experiment that allows people to buy, sell, and tokenize tweets over on Twitter. And we're really excited to kind of take the learnings and run with this new experiment starting tomorrow. And then just like the genesis of that is that a lot of people see these amazing tweets that get crazy engagement from Elon Musk or like a Naval Ravikant and saying, I wish I could buy that tweet. And we're literally going to provide people the ability to do that tomorrow. And the way that it'll work essentially is that you'll have someone can create or submit a bid on a tweet by anyone that's a verified account or anyone with a blue check mark. And the original tweet author, the verified Twitter account, they have the ability to accept that offer. And when they accept it,
Wow.
they get the money. They quickly sign up to MetaMask, get the money, and then on the back end, we mint that tweet, and it's transferred to the collector, and they can say that they collected it.
Wow. And I like totally believe that this will be successful because I have like I have seen the light in the WIP meetups and in Cryptovoxels. Like it's like this isn't a community that's gonna, you know, one day be like, ah, well, that was fun. Close the computer and move on to I'm gonna go do some boring traditional job. Like people are just they like it kind of goes back to that idea of people what call it like manifesting something. And but to me, like I've always broken that down as, well, if you believe in something and you continue to work at that, and you are you know, of course, like living in reality too. Like we're not, it's not like if you believe that you can fly, it's not just going to happen someday. But if you are a physicist and you're working on creating a suit that lets you fly, like there's that one startup out there. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
anything possible. And I, this is like one of the things that's just really remarkable and special about the Ethereum community and about all of its sub communities, which to me are like, if Ethereum is a digital nation, you have these cities or states within it,
Yeah.
and they're beautiful, different places to live and to work in, and they all have their own sort of culture. DeFi has become like clearly like a state within Ethereum, but
Yeah.
NFTs was something I used to see it as like a state, but now I've come to realize, well, it's like NFTs really just powers all of these killer use cases. And so we have gaming that will continue to evolve, blockchain based VR, and art is just something that it took me a while to see the light, but I just now I just cannot unsee the value of NFT art. That like I just like I said earlier, I see it as it's like smart art. And anyways, like that thread, I mean to say that this kind of ties together Scent and Metacast and the WIP meetup. Like it's, I feel like you continue to find ways to add value to make the universe result in what you believe it should be. And it's very affirming to me because I've felt that way most strongly about DeFi. And that's why I was like, you know what, if I just start showing people applications, if I just continue to pound the pavement on that, like eventually people will see the light.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess I never realized as much as I had like done research on you and you know, known you now as like a friend, I didn't connect it all and like realize like you're just years ahead on this, but I just can't believe like you've continued to tie all this together. I guess like, do you see any other ventures you haven't started yet that you think will help to bring a reality to again like this creator owned universe that you've been working towards over the last few years? Like what other ventures lie ahead that we can look forward to?
I mean, outside of like these three major ones, and then in the back end, like doing a
Do
bunch
another
of
one.
stuff,
You're only doing three
consulting with
major
artists
projects.
and stuff.
Yeah, not even three. It's
Um,
actually four because I'm kind of like digital art. I don't know, like that's such a cool hobby, and like as you pointed out, it's a profitable, cool hobby that you've gotten into. So yeah, no, I'm curious. Like Andrew Steinwald was, you know, mentioning like all of the possibilities with like folks wanting to buy up real estate in
mhm.
blockchain based VR. And it like suddenly hit me like, oh yeah. And then you've got the builders, which like I don't know the names of them, but you've referenced them before. There are teams, if anyone's on most people probably don't know this, there are teams that are building these incredibly elaborate builds, or a build referring to like what we were showing earlier, the museums, the towers, the homes that people live in Cryptovoxels, and like that's a skill set that they are becoming increasingly better at, and that people are willing to pay for. So I guess like, what other future business models or just future projects are you most excited about in the metaverse?
Well, quick shout out to like Voxel Architects, which is one of the major teams that are
Yeah.
building out all of these structures. And if anyone comes into one of these virtual worlds, whether it be Cryptovoxels or Decentraland, even Somnium Space, and they just don't have the time or bandwidth or creativity to build any of these structures, go to Voxel Architects or go to Polygonal Minds created by Toxan. They can build these structures for you. They'll take your design ideas and they'll make it a literal reality. And they spend like 30, 40, 50 hours, sometimes 100 hours on some of these builds, depending on how detailed and precise you want them to be, which is insane. So shout out to those folks.
Yeah.
They're really literally building the future. In terms of like what I see or what I could potentially be involved in and growing into the future, I've always looked at the WIP as a primitive experiment, right? If we're able to create this reoccurring event in our neck of the woods, right? Because the crypto space right now is quite small. You can call them or compare them to nation states. I like to think of them as neighborhoods at this point.
Yeah,
Some
neighborhood.
are
That's good. Yeah.
quite well built, right? But for like size and scale, they're neighborhoods. But as the neighborhoods do grow into much larger and scale up into much larger things, and as more people around the world come into crypto, into the space, they're going to want to have their own meetups. And one of the things that I've been kind of like noodling around with is the idea that the WIP could become a DAO that could essentially fragment itself using like a DAO-like framework of interrelated sub WIP meetups in different languages, different time zones that people would be able to create on their own, get sponsorship money, but then funnel via smart contracts a lot of that funding throughout the ecosystem so that everyone is sharing in that greater prosperity that each new subsequent WIP kind of brings to it. And starting with like the top WIP, the bigger WIP, like over time, you can imagine it becoming something super elaborate, heavily sponsored, even beyond what it is today, in a way that gives people the ability to hop in, get their first gig in crypto by participating in one of these DAOs as a member of the crew, supporting it, getting their digital resume built. And I feel like that is a future that really excites me and presents great opportunities for people all around the world that could be interesting to see expand over time in a way that's tangible and immediately accessible to folks, which I think is really important. Always making this accessible and letting people see how easy it is to actually get involved and do something, because that's the engine that's powering everything, the action, right?
It's like a new meetup network with the WIP meetup. So tomorrow, anyone watching this, like that's Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern. You can hop into, go to cryptovoxels.com, and you'll see when you get there, it always is showing like lots of activity. And you could also follow the WIP meetup on Twitter, and it'll give you the link where to go, because you guys end up in a different part of Cryptovoxels every time. But as we talk about this metaverse, which is still like so small, there's just so few of people are living in it, and that's because like our primary is still the physical world for most people, even those of us in Cryptovoxels or Somnium and so on. But eventually, just like what we've read in like a Ready Player One, I mean, the physical world will be. I'm like hung up on this concept of like mirror versus primary. I listened to this podcast with Balaji on Bankless this morning, and I just was like,
great episode, by the way.
Such a great episode. I love the way he verbalized it. I mean, he's one of the most like revered, and he's truly I mean, I don't normally think of other people as being smarter, but like this guy like sees things that other people don't see. So maybe it's not smarter, but he's just an incredible thinker. And so he talked about the fact that 2020 is the year where the internet has truly become the internet finally, and that we are truly dependent on the internet for everything. It's people started ordering on Amazon because they had no other choice. They were in quarantine and they couldn't go out, or weren't supposed to go out. And we have socialization that goes on, online. Like, we've all become dependent on Zoom at some point, or Google Meet.
Yeah.
And what a lot of people have probably failed to realize is that, like, that these blockchain-based VR worlds are actually that. Or, I mean, God, I wouldn't deny someone, like, if you go into alt space VR, it's pretty incredible too, with an Oculus. And it feels like that tinier world, the metaverse, is we're going to see everything rebuilt. And so I at least will say, like, just because of the age I am, like, I was a pretty young kid in the 90s, so I wasn't able to, like, I didn't participate in the .com boom. I was, a kid at home who had an AOL or America Online, like, disc, and whatever, I downloaded their software, and I remember using AOL Instant Messenger. But like, all of these sorts of, like, primitives of the internet were kind of being built. And I've said many times, like, man, like, people were so lucky to live through that. Like, that's such like there's like so much low hanging fruit. And, whether your goal is riches at that point, or to make like a lasting contribution, which is the part of it I really envy, the people that made a lasting contribution to the internet. That is what we're living through from a money standpoint, from a perspective of the finance world being rebuilt on Ethereum with DeFi. And then most notably, it's so much more expansive, but it's like harder for people to wrap their heads around, it's the metaverse. Everything will be rebuilt. And the WIP Meetup, to me, it's like, like, there's no meetup network in the metaverse. And that's actually how I've seen it, as you're kind of pioneering, like, I don't know, like a new meetup.com, except it doesn't cost anybody any money. And it's basically all community driven, and it's just radical. So there's all that opportunity. There's just so much opportunity in the metaverse right now. Again, whether you want to make some meaningful, lasting contribution, or whether, like, I won't deny, like, there's riches to be made in there as well. I don't know if that will bring someone happiness, but there's a limited supply of a lot of interesting things in the metaverse that are going to be created. And it'll just be interesting to see how many of us actually adopt it in the next decade or so.
Yeah. Like, these days, I'm watching the documentary series Age of Oil, and like, the internet is our oil. It's powering everything. And the fact that we have cryptocurrency, which is internet money, it's allowing everyone to literally set up a drill site anywhere using an idea and start harvesting this digital gold that gushes forth on a ratio equivalent to how much energy you put into something and how good the idea is, right? So you can take your idea and you can literally drill for that digital gold wherever you want to, as long as you have an internet connection. And that's powerful. You don't have to physically move anywhere. You don't have to take your family from boomtown to boomtown, right? Like, the new definition of, like, the equivalent of a boomer back in the day would be to be a citizen of the metaverse, which is a citizen of the world, right? And being able to be a part of a community and actually give value back. The more value you give, the more value you will get back. And it's like the most virtuous cycle you could imagine, right? I mean, of course, there's going to be people that profit more than other people. It's all relative at the end of the day. But the fact that you can set up this crazy, as detailed or as complicated a drill site as you would like, or as simple a drill site as you would like, you can still get value from what's happening and what's unfolding in the internet today. And this is all together. Like, it's not like crypto is its own little thing. It's all because of the internet and the connection and connectivity that we've established. So
it's kind of it's a truth. There's a truth that I believe in, that we really will have this, like, bleeding together of like all nations. But I never thought it would happen in my lifetime. It was just something like, I'm like, I can imagine this at some point in the far off future, but it has more to do with VR now. And that's, it's a wonderful thing because it's suddenly, to me, obviously there's still going to be barriers of like getting the hardware and solid internet connections, but like we've seen in our lifetime, like how technology just becomes more and more affordable or more commoditized.
Yep.
And so like for me, living in a world of, you know, COVID over the last year, I've never felt less conscious of borders and different time zones and all sorts of stuff, because there's the Ethereum community, and then the Cryptovoxels sub community of Ethereum. I mean, no one talks about that. Like you don't often start a conversation with where are you? You know, like it's just, even like I realized I've actually never asked where you were based. I knew you were based somewhere in Asia, but didn't realize it was Korea because I don't know, whatever. I've just always talked to you at like, you know, meetups for the WIP, or you know, in this case, doing interviews and podcasts. So it really, I mean, I guess like my main takeaway from this conversation for everyone is you really have so much access right now to so much more than you realize. And it starts with, you know, the bravery of going to the Token Smart Discord group or hopping into Cryptovoxels. If, you know, as long as you have a laptop or a computer, you know, you can do that. Actually, you don't even need that. You can do it on your phone too. You can, like, Cryptovoxels is available on your phone. I'm conscious of how much I've kept you over time, of course, which was no surprise. But Matthew, we covered Scent. We talked about the WIP. We've beaten that into the ground in the metaverse. What is Metacast? What is one of your newest ventures you're working on, or that you've launched with Andrew Steinwald? Anyways, what's the problem you all aim to solve with Metacast?
Yeah, so Metacast is an NFT and blockchain-based creator and ad network, co-founded with Andrew, his friend Brooke, and then also Rizzle is co-founder in this venture.
Really?
So yeah, Rizzle's the common thread through everything as well.
That guy's everywhere.
Rizzle's awesome. He's my dude.
He's great, yeah.
But essentially, the problem that Metacast is trying to solve is the fact that we have this new emerging space in NFT land. And we have a bunch of creators that are putting out content. There's William Peaster, Andrew is obviously with the Seema Red podcast and newsletter, myself and Rizzle with the Matthew Rizzle Show, all the writing that I do generally, Play to Earn, several other folks that are doing things. And there are businesses and potential advertisers that are looking at this space and seeing the fact that like the gross sales have exceeded like $250 million. There's obviously like there's money there and good ideas that they have that they want to put in front of this audience that wants to buy and take part in all these amazing experiences. So Metacast is bundling together this creator network that's emerging into a centralized location and allowing advertisers to come to us such in a way that we can take their message and distribute it to the creators to let them share across their channels. So we've had like Async Art, Connie Digital advertise with us. Now we have F1 Delta Project from the Animoca team that we're actively sponsoring or advertising for the month of December. And it's this very simple idea that we think this sort of creator and ad network could be a valuable addition to this growing economy. And it's proving to be pretty successful so far.
Would you classify yourselves more than as an agency, or is there a software element to this? Like, will we see Metacast billboards in Cryptovoxels, anything like that? Like, I guess, yeah, how does it work today?
So today it's really just based on that creator network. and the relationships with the creators that we have. That's where like the simplification comes from the advertiser standpoint, and that's where all the value really lies with the creators and their channels for distribution with their unique audiences. Over time, though, it obviously makes sense since we are focused on this NFT gaming and the metaverse, right, as a medium for communicating and expressing these ideas, to partner with or potentially like acquire any of these native in-world advertising and billboard projects to incorporate that as another layer of where these advertisers can display and distribute their message that they have for the space. So really, I feel like the potential for this is unbounded, and an idea like this that is pretty simple to grok, right? You need to have an advertiser and you pair them with a great creator and a unique audience, and just sending those messages back and forth to one another. I just feel like that's a winning formula that's easy to understand in a space that's growing, in a space where every user is essentially a potential customer and member of a future community. So super, super excited about this. And the team is awesome, working with Andrew and Brooke and Rizzle.
I can imagine that just because the other day I connected you with the co-founder, or I think he's founder of Alethea. Yeah, Alethea.ai, which if anyone doesn't know, it's the ability to create synthetic media, but it's crazy. Like you can basically create an avatar that looks like either of us or whatever you want. You can take a photo of a meme like the Pepe the Frog, and you can turn it into a live talking avatar and feed it text to be read. And anyways, as we were talking about it, he's like, yeah, who do you think I should be reaching out to and communicating with? And I'm like, man, you got to get into the WIP. Like that's a no-brainer. Now, I just happen to know that, but I was like, this is something in the future beyond the WIP where I could see people wanting to tap into this very special community of creators. And I mean, God, we didn't even talk about, personal tokens. I mean, that's a whole nother avenue of a creator-owned world who are truly empowered with their own token. And that's a special community that a lot of the world doesn't know about yet. Even the community that you'd think would be more like tuned into it, that's like a crypto native community. Many people don't fully understand it yet. So, you can see the coming explosion of personal tokens and how people will, they'll launch a personal token and they'll be like, who should I be reaching out to? Well, you should be reaching out to the early adopters of personal tokens and the early adopters of digital art that understand the importance of a creator token. Matthew, anything else that you think we should cover? Like, I mean, I could just go on and on. This happens every single time. There's my little
coming unbuttoned right here.
yeah, exactly. I got my like, it's like the frattiest looking orange shirt under this. Because this is basically all I wear.
Where'd you get that Ethereum shirt, by the way? It's looking really fresh.
It is from, if you go to etherealsummit.com, there's a shop there, and it's one of those, they still offer them because I'm pretty sure like you order it and then whatever shop is making it through Shopify is whatever screen printing shop they're making them. But yeah, this is definitely my favorite shirt. This is definitely my uniform. I would one of these for all 7 days of the week. But luckily, because we're, live streaming, no one has to be in a room with me anymore. So I did shower before this, but even if I didn't, I was like, oh, nobody can smell me through the live stream. So, but yeah, go to etherealsummit.com, which is obviously where I used to work. And it's, they've got some really cool stuff that our super talented designer made at the time. But yeah, Matthew, anything else that's top of mind, like that folks should know about? Like, I want to remind everyone, like you can follow Matthew at Nifty Time on Twitter. I mean, you should go learn about Cent at cent.co. If you've never tried it before, it's really cool. You got to try Cryptovoxels. Is there a website for Metacast yet, or anywhere that we could go to learn about it?
Yeah, you can follow them on Twitter at Metacast, I believe, and then the link to the site, which I don't want to misspeak, is linked right there. And we also have a Discord that you can join.
Is
So
it
definitely follow Metacast.
is it Metacast Group or Metacast on Twitter?
Uh, it may be Metacast Group.
I'll check here. Oh yeah, that looks like it's connecting creators and companies in the NFT and
That's it.
blockchain gaming space. Very cool. Oh wow, we only got 55 followers. I'm early to this, so well yeah, people
Yeah.
can follow Metacast Group on Twitter.
And the WIP Meetup on Twitter is where you can get all the information on the WIP Meetups that are on Thursday. We have a WIP Asia for folks that are in my neck of the woods that don't want to wake up at early AM on Thursdays or their Fridays to join the Thursday one. So we're trying to break it out into multiple time zones. But the WIP Meetup on Twitter is the best place to stay on top of all those updates. And yeah,
it's a gateway to so much more information. Like that to me is it's one of the best ways for anyone to just start to make friends in the space. And it's a very welcoming space too. I mean, like I've missed tons of them. I mean, I've like got conflicts with work and conflicts with like picking up my kids at that around that time on most days. But it's just a community that, you know, you learn a lot. You know, there's a lot of really interesting and passionate people and people who are working on what they love. And it's kind of it's the antithesis of whatever, you know, corporate Silicon Valley job some of us have worked in the past. Really special place.
Yeah.
Matthew, gosh, there was one other thing here to follow up on, but maybe we just covered it all here at this point. Oh, your podcast. I'm sorry. Can you remind everyone what's the name of the podcast, and they can subscribe on Apple Podcasts to that?
Yeah, just search for The Matthew and Rizzle Show. All words, don't need to do a weird ampersand or anything like that. Should pop up on Apple Podcast, Shopify, wherever you listen to podcasts. Listen to Rizzle and I talk a bunch of shit, along with amazingly cool projects in the crypto space. And I also insert all of my spotlight interviews with creators and artists in the space as well. The Matthew and Rizzle Show.
There we go.
Listen to that, and then if you dig anything, let me know.
Yeah, I never told you at the start, like clearly, like this is part of the show. Me like trying to type in stuff as quickly as I can to put it up on a banner. But yeah, there you go, everyone. You can follow the Matthew and Rizzle Show on Apple Podcasts, or I'm assuming it's also on Spotify, right? I think I've listened to it before on there. Yeah, there we go. Spotify, really funny show. Rizzle he's got one of the best personalities, and you guys have like a really dynamic charm between the two of you. So go there. Gosh, man, thanks so much for your time. Like I just, this happens every time. Every time I've had an interview or talk with you, I just want to keep talking with you. And we barely scratched the surface of some of these topics, but it's just, it's just such an exciting time. I got to start exploring art more. That's the one thing. Every time I talk with you, I'm like I love art. And so like, why should I not make some investments into the digital art space, or just view it as like owning something cool? Are there any other suggestions you would give, Matthew, if someone doesn't have a parcel in, a blockchain based VR world? What else, or what other ways do you see people display their digital art?
So there's a project. Let me think about what the name is. Easy in Crypto created it along with Yoni, and I think it's called blanking on the name, but it's a website that lets you set up your own digital gallery with your crypto art. So if you collect the crypto art, you can go there and you can display all of it. God, I'm spacing on the name. It was top of mind, but that's a really easy alternative. If they want to display it in real life, there's Mural, TV frames. Async art has an integration with Apple TV. That's really slick. You can put up on your monitor. Samsung makes a really, really brilliant display for digital art as well. I forget what the name of the specific model is, but it looks like a frame, maybe called the frame or something like that. But those are two easy ways.
How many parcels are even available, or is there anything still available on Cryptovoxels? I remember, like, I thought it was all sold out a while back.
Yeah. Oh, Collectors Hub. Collectors Hub is the name of the digital gallery that anyone can sign up and use. And then in terms of land availability in Cryptovoxels, the main Square Island origin city, all of that land has been sold out and is only available on the secondary market. But Ben Nolan, I believe it's every Wednesday for most people, he has an auction for new land that he's layering in outside in islands around Origin City. So people are able to, still potentially scoop new virgin land to build on in the primary sales. And it's, compared to all the other virtual worlds, still the most affordable for folks to jump in there. And Ben is always experimenting with different ways for people to kind of get their own land. And if you don't want to buy anything, there's a sandbox mode that people can use to kind of build their own builds without paying anything, with the possibility of Ben eventually conferring ownership of that land to you at some point. So there's a free entry point for folks.
Yeah, and if anyone is confused at all, like Cryptovoxels is not a decentralized, world. It is a world that benefits from all of these assets that are on a decentralized blockchain, being Ethereum. So, like there is some risk to this, but I mean, I would argue it's no more risk than what we've all experienced most of our lives. Every company we interact with, like we've bought things and the company goes out of business and it's no longer there. But I can't see Cryptovoxels has just got such an enthusiastic community, and there's so much demand now for this growing world. What is, like, do you happen to know, like, what is the average starting price of the parcels that do become available on these like new islands?
I haven't seen or joined in any of the recent bids or auctions rather, but I believe it's probably hovering around that 1 ETH mark, potentially a little bit less for some of the auctions that they try to focus on bringing in people that are brand new at a lower price point. But ballpark $200 to $600 expect to pay on varying levels and sizes of parcels. So not super low for folks, but lower than any of the other projects in the space.
Lower than the others, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I recognize it could be a lot of money for a lot of people, but it's relatively lower. And then in terms of the builds, like the voxel builders, is that what the name
voxel
of
architects? Voxel architects, and then Polygonal Minds and Toxam. Those are the two collectives that. Yeah, Polygonal Minds, they do games and everything else, but they also do builds specifically in Decentraland and Cryptovoxels.
Do you happen to know, like, where some of that pricing starts at? I mean, everything's unique and different, but any idea of, like, I don't know, like the average person that ends up buying, let's say, the $200 to $600 parcel. One of the things that would be compelling to me if I can get my hands on that is, I think I would want to go the route of working with them, because it makes it so much more fun. They really make it look like something you would see in real life. And it turns it into, if you're going to own a parcel, you want to turn it into something that feels like home, but metaverse.
Yeah, and they all have their own specific price points, and I'm not quoting any of them, but generally it's between $30 and $60 an hour. And depending on the level of detail you want in a build, obviously the price is a function of that. But for some of the more complex builds that you've seen, like the Token Smart Lounge, I believe that was like a 40 to 60 hour project. That was way back in the day when they were just getting started too, to give you a sense of.
I'm guessing a lot has changed now. I mean, the fact that we're talking about it even on a live stream proves that they've got product market fit, and the more people that pile in, the more that are like, hey, why is Token Smart Stadium so freaking cool? Like, who made this?
Yeah, exactly.
So, man, all right. Well, hey, thanks so much, Matthew. You're more than welcome to hang out any longer, but I'm going to end the broadcast here in a second. So, just a reminder, everyone, that we will be on tomorrow at 3:30 Eastern with Lark Davis. We're going to be talking about his outlook on the DeFi markets and just the crypto markets in general, because as much as we can focus on the fundamentals, it still does affect us all, like knowing, what prices are doing and like what sort of market structure we're looking at, which looks very bullish right now. So good for us. And then, Friday we'll do the week in DeFi. This will be our first time doing a special segment on that, just to kind of recap the week and everything that's going on. So anyways, thanks so much for joining, everyone. And just Matthew, thanks so much for your time. Like, really appreciate you just sharing all of the outrageous insights that you have. So anyways, thanks so much, dude. I'm going to hit the outro video here. Bye, everyone.
Always a pleasure.